30 days with the Oura ring. Do I regret buying it? What do I think of it? Do I like it? And most importantly for you, do I recommend it? Hey guys, I'm Soma and I want to live the best possible life. And to do that, I began tracking my sleep a little over 3 months ago with this little tiny gadget that is called the Oura ring. Now, the way this video is going to be constructed is the following. First, I'm going to kind of give you an overview of what the Oura ring is. If you don't know, I'm going to kind of tell you its main functions and the functions I think are the most important. And then I'm going to go over why I picked specifically the Oura ring and not any of the other sleep tracking devices. Then I'm going to go over who this is for. And finally, I'm going to go over a few things that I think could be made clear when you're purchasing this, specifically with the Oura ring sizing kit. Before we begin, no, I am not sponsored. I bought the Oura ring full price. I'm in no contact with the team, but I do like it, and if this is all you're here for, I do recommend that you buy it. But with that out of the way, let's get going. The Oura ring is frankly, quite a stylish sleep tracker and kind of everyday bio-tracking ring. And its form factor is teeny tiny, and if you were to tell me that I was going to track my sleep with something that is this tiny 10 years ago, I would have laughed at you. This, frankly, is honestly pretty miraculous. Its form factor is so small that people don't know that it's a tracking ring. I've worn this out, and literally no one knew what it was. When I told them what it was, they were like, whoa, that's a thing? And so I think it's safe to say that this is a really good everyday ring. However, I don't wear this every day. I just wear it during night because that is where it shines, because fundamentally down at its core, it is a sleep tracking ring, and that I think is what it's primarily meant to be used for, at least for now. The way it does this, it tracks several things, specifically in 3 main categories. The first one being your sleep, the second one being your readiness, and the third one being your daily activity. Now, starting off with sleep, it essentially tracks your sleep cycles. So starting off from being awake to light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep, it keeps track of your cycles. And it's important that something keeps track of your cycles, and more importantly, that it keeps track of your cycles accurately, because just knowing how much you slept is not enough. Sleep is one of those things where quality trumps quantity. You can have 6 hours of the best sleep of your life, or you can have 10 hours of the worst sleep of your life. That is why having something that's able to kind of graduate things and make things into different categories, be it light sleep, deep sleep, or REM sleep, is so crucial. With this, it also tracks things like the time it takes for you to fall asleep from going to bed, also, obviously, your overall duration of sleep, as well as a lot of other things, including how restful you are. This is really the bread and butter, and this is probably the primary reason why you would want to buy it. However, there is a second thing, a second category that it tracks, and that is your other vitals, specifically heart rate, HRV, temperature, as well as your respiration rate. Heart rate, very obvious. It's a good thing to keep track of for as much as possible. However, honestly, heart rate, though it's a useful indicator of how fit you are, it is not as good as heart rate variability, or HRV, which this thing tracks really well. HRV is important because it is indicative of your stress level, aka it is a correlation of how stressful you are. That is because when you are stressed, your heart beats more symmetrically, aka it beats in a more regular rhythm, thus lowering your HRV. Therefore, you want as high of an HRV as possible, because when your HRV is high, that means you are not stressed or not as stressed, and that is obviously a good thing for a lot of different reasons. This is really good because it allows you to essentially keep track of your stress levels so that stress does not sneak up on you. I remember a few nights after waking up and I'm like, well, I didn't sleep too good, and there's all of these things going on with my life, and I checked it, and indeed, my HRV was really low. And so I thought to myself, oh my god, am I really all that stressed? And indeed, I was, without even really noticing it. It also keeps track of your temperature, which is nice because it can be an early warning system for when you're about to get sick, but I don't really care about this one too much, as well as your respiratory rate. Again, it's a good thing that it keeps track of it. The more data, the merrier. However, it's not the end of the world if it does not, because honestly, I don't really find too much of a use for it. The next category is your daily activity. Now, I don't really know how it tracks your daily activity all that well because I don't exercise with this on. In fact, I don't wear this during the day, mostly because it's frankly pretty expensive and I do not want to break it. However, it is said to be shockproof as well as waterproof. Again, did not test the waterproof aspect of it. You guys are more than welcome to. It does seem like it's able to take water, but again, it's expensive, and so I definitely do not want to test that if I don't have to. I have washed my hands with it, and it survived that, but I have not tried anything further than that. The other nice thing is, if you're like me and you don't really want to wear this out during the day, and therefore it can't really track your exercise, but it can keep track of calories burned, steps taken, things like that, you know, your standard, obvious exercise things. Now, it uses all of these things to do one very important and honestly very cool thing, and that is give you a readiness score in the morning. Your readiness score is essentially the combination of how you slept, how your vitals were, and your exercise the day before to kind of give you an overall score out of 100 of how much should you do that day. AKA, if you didn't sleep well and your vitals are really bad, maybe you want to take it light on the exercise, because ultimately if your body's super stressed and you do exercise, that is probably not going to be too good for it. However, if you get a really high score, then you might want to go even harder that day. This is all pretty still subjective of how you choose to live your day, because I've yet to really let it stop me from doing a hard workout. However, it is a consideration that you could make that you weren't able to do it before. This is also why I think the Oura Ring is actually so accurate, and that is because when I look at my sleep, when I look at how my HRV is, when I look at my readiness score, and I actually check how I'm feeling, they correlate so perfectly. The higher the score, the better I feel. The better it shows that I slept, the better I feel in the morning. And so I'm actually pretty confident that it's able to track it. Now, one nice thing that it does do is if you're anything like me and you don't use it for exercise, it doesn't actually count your exercise in your readiness score, which I think is huge, and so many companies would miss this. That's such a nice little addition, because now I don't have to do mental math to be like, oh, well, whatever this score is, I have to give it 10 more because I did exercise the day before, I just did not wear the ring during it. Just really quickly, for those of you like me who really like having a lot of data to manipulate, you can actually export all of the data in the ring as an Excel spreadsheet. So for those of you that really appreciate statistics and what it could potentially do in the large scale, then this is really for you, because now you can actually run your own statistics on your own data, and I think that is crazy. Some other nice features that it can do is you can do a quick test, or you can take a moment, as they like to call it, and test how you are right now. So it basically just tests your heart rate as well as your HRV, and using this, I was actually able to kind of train my HRV to be more calm. So you can sort of use this for HRV training. It's probably not the best thing as active feedback, because the way that works is you just turn it on, it records it, and at the end of the session, it shows you. So it's not very active monitoring, but it can be decent for tracking things in the long term, which is, I think, where this ring really shines. So now that you know all about the ring, why did I specifically get the Oura Ring and not other tracking rings? Well, there's two main reasons. The first one is the person that actually told me about the Oura Ring is the father of biohacking, Dave Asprey, the founder of Bulletproof. I think the guy is amazing. I basically listen to him because he makes a lot of sense to me. And so, if it's good enough for him with his $1 million private biohacking facility, it's probably gonna be good enough for me. And also, it was within mostly my price range. It's not the cheapest, but it's also not the most expensive thing. It's no $4,000 professional, sleep tracking pads that you like put on your forehead every night. It is probably one of the better ones as well, because I think the company really focuses on quality over just getting a product out there because sleep tracking is now a thing. It's also not retrofitted like something like the Fitbit, which isn't really meant for sleep tracking. It's more meant for general exercise tracking, and sleep tracking is kind of just there as a bonus. I really do appreciate the company, because if you look at this ring, if you actually hold it in your hand, this is something that, and this is going to be a little cliche, clearly had at least a little bit of love put into it. This is clearly not just get it out to market as quickly as possible and make money before a company goes bankrupt. This is very clearly a long-term play with a quality product, and that is ultimately why I chose this, because I trust that the company will, in the long term, kind of continue to update this. In fact, I've gotten several updates to the ring even since I got it. So who would I actually recommend this for? Well, the short answer is everybody, because I think everyone should be tracking their sleep in the long run, because sleep is sort of a microcosm of how you are doing in that stage of life. And so monitoring it, at least in the long run, not even doing a few experiments in the short run, is really big. It can kind of tell you when you're in a rut, because if you're in a rut, odds are you're sleeping less, or at least your quality of sleep is going way down. And that, I think, is really, really valuable. Also, potentially, who knows, you might really want this data 10 years down the line. This can be used to quickly assess how you're doing and do a bunch of fixes like I'm doing right now with testing a bunch of different factors that go into my sleep. But it can also give you that long-term perspective that I don't think a lot of other things can do. And lastly, as I promised, the sizing kit. Now, for those of you thinking about ordering this, it's not the most obvious thing, but the way they right now set it up is you buy the ring with the sizing kit and they ship the sizing kit out to you. You wear it, you figure it out, which I'll talk about in just a second, and then you tell them what size it is, and then they send the Oura ring. This honestly was not the most obvious thing for me, so I thought I'd mention it here. It might be obvious for you, however. So the sizing kit looks a little something like this. It has all the different ring sizes, and essentially what you want to do is you want to warm your hands up, because you want to expand your hands as much as possible, because when you sleep, your fingers do tend to expand by the morning. And then put one on that is the most comfortable. I am unfortunately between sizes, meaning one size is a little too small and the other size is a little too big. I personally went for one that was a little bigger than what I needed, only because I know my hands will probably get a little fatter as things go on, a little bit thicker. And so, because this is a long-term play, I want to be able to wear this in the long run. Also, the other thing is, just in case you get something a little too tight, you don't want to have to cut this off, because I've definitely had ring issues with a few of my friends where they've had to cut rings off of their fingers, and so I'm always a little bit paranoid about wearing a ring overnight, especially something like this that's a technology that you really don't want to cut through, because you're not fixing this if you're cutting through this. Guys, if you have any questions about the ring, please comment them down below and I will do my best to answer any of them that I can. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button, because I will be bringing a lot of these videos to you in the near future, including ones on how you can actually improve your sleep that I use this little bad boy to actually figure out. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.